This is Terrence Banks with Information Age Financial Solutions, and I want to talk to you about the most pressing thing that we need to be mindful of for this year and the years going forward, and that's Social Security, 401k plans, and pensions. In fact, to say it's a crisis is an understatement. The reason why it's so important is because it's not really being covered that much in watching television news. Now, you might hear it in print journals where you might have an article on the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal or Bloomberg, but most people don't read print journal anymore. They actually just get the news from social media and other sources. So that is why it's not really being talked about, but it's so important because it controls most of the things that many of us do. And the reason, let me get what I'm getting at here. There's 75 million baby boomers. That's my parents and generation before that. That makes up one of the largest populations inside the United States, as well as other Western countries. I'm going to particularly focus on how it affects us in the United States. For most part, that population has had the greatest economic boom in times since the 1970s and before. They also control the largest concentration of wealth for regular people inside the United States. In fact, I would venture to say that they make up most of what is considered the middle class. As they becoming at the age where they're not contributing so much more in terms of society, they're demanding more, whether it be Social Security or they're demanding that from their 401k and their pensions. It's actually at 10,000 strong a day. These are your parents. These are your grandparents. The problem is that their models that they're using to fund these individuals are based on this exponential growth. But we live in a finite world. There's only a certain amount of trees, certain amount of food, certain amount of metals, certain amount of everything. It's on a fixed amount. And as you keep extracting this from the world, it becomes less and less. When they put these plans in place, they never took that in consideration that we're in a finite world. They only had the assumption that everything is going to remain the same and it's going to be able to fund these individuals. So the next larger generation coming after that is the millennials. But they have none of that none of that basis or any of the opportunities that baby boom generation has. Now, I've fallen somewhere a little older than the millennials, but a little bit in that middle realm, still trying to function from the old way of doing things as well. And every day, the work that I do as a credit and housing counselor, I see so many of these individuals strapped with credit card debts, strapped with massive amounts of taking on responsibilities for their family. And as you continue to squeeze them, and there's no other income sources coming in for them, they help out in every aspect of family. Think about it. When you go to talk to your parents, if you're anyone over 30 some years old, they're the ones you usually could lean on to get some money from. Hey, can you help me out for that? But as they become strapped and as they retire and they're dependent on the stock market, Social Security, these areas are not funded. And I mean, I'm just talking about this because it's really not pushed enough, but it's the biggest crisis that we actually have. I'm going to do several videos just strictly on pensions and some of the things that I've been finding out in the news media, and I'm just going to point out some of those criteria. I'm rambling on, but this is so important that you need to understand. We're going to have to move back into more of a tribal aspect where we're taking care of each other. And that means helping out our parents. All this ideology that they can live by themselves, or we can live and function without growing together and being responsible for each other is an illusion. And that's going to become more apparent as time goes on. I'm sorry to say they're not going to be able to fund these different things. It's already showing up. And as you see in the articles and the videos that I'm going to be doing in the next couple of videos, you're going to see that just by information alone that they're putting this in regular journal form, that pensions are huge. Pensions, Social Security, that problem is just escalating. I even had one in Dallas where they were drawing so much of the pensions because they thought it wasn't going to be there in 10 years. They almost made it insolvent. The governor had to stop that from doing it. Quiet as kept. No one's really talking about this. I just also read another article in New York, my hometown, where the Teamsters their pension is non-existent anymore. And you had a couple individuals talking about their particular problems about that. Think about it. No one really talks about how serious this problem is, but it's 75 million of them. And again, these ain't just random people. These are people that's in your household. These are your fathers. These are your grandfathers, and how they help out with everything financial with you. As they become squeezed, as they become more dependent on that, and then their obligations can't be met, they're going to look for family to help them out. And the last thing I don't want you to be caught off guard with this, because I've seen this so many different times in my own family about individuals not even knowing what their family's situation is like. So they're left with untold amount of debt. They're thinking they're going to be inheriting homes or something like that to be passed down. All they're finding out is they're going to be inheriting debt because houses that they thought were paid off actually have loans on them, reverse mortgages. These things are not unheard of. Then pensions that were once available are not anymore. And we haven't even gotten to the Social Security problem or the Medicare problem that they won't even touch. But realizing that, again, we live in a finite world. This is Terrence Banks with Information Age Financial Solutions. You got family members, you need to start talking about things that's more important than the next thing that's on television or the next sporting event. We have a pension, Social Security, and entitlement problem brewing of epic proportion. Until my next video, when I go into more about this, start looking at your finances. Start talking to your family members. This is important. This is the biggest, I would say one of the most biggest things we could pay more attention to, and the biggest pending crisis that can affect us in the this year and 10 years going forward. That population, again, they control most of the wealth in the United States, as quiet as kept. Because most people that I've come across to, all the credit counseling and housing counseling I've done, I see that as the individuals that every other family member is relying on. Talk to you soon. Terrence Banks, Information Age Financial Solutions. If this has been any help for you, please subscribe, leave a comment. Love to hear back.